Yeah, great. So do you guys want, and thank you everyone for coming again, and from every time zone around the world. We love to interface with you guys, and hopefully we can open up to a little bit of a Q&A at the end. But we can start by going around and introducing ourselves. Alaia, do you want to start it off?
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Alaia.
Alaia.
I'm from. It's okay. I always tell people to call me Leia, like Princess Leia, because that usually gets it. But yeah, so I'm a production coordinator at the studio. I'm originally from Minneapolis, Minnesota, represent Midwest. And I don't know what else to say. Like, that's pretty much in a nutshell.
How long have you been at Disney, Alaia?
Well, I have been at Disney. I've been at the studio since 2017. I've been at the Disney the company since 2007, and I started at Disneyland Resort, started at the parks as an attraction hostess.
Cool.
Man. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I remember, Alaia, when you told me that, you're like, yeah, I've worked here for like 13 years. I'm like, what?
13 years. You're like, yeah, you look so young.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
So, yeah, and then do you want to go ahead, Jasmine?
Sure. So I'm Jasmine Reed, and I'm from Chicago. So never thought I'd really be out here in LA. Like, my family is very much in Chicago, and my friends are in Chicago. So being out here working in the entertainment industry is still very surreal. I have been with the company for a little bit over 8 years now. So it's been a while, and I'm a production supervisor.
Hey. Is that, Jasmine, why we have so many people from Chicago tuning in today?
Probably.
Just telling everybody back home.
Awesome. And then Jonny? Yeah, feel free.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Jonny. I came from San Diego. So I saw a couple people from San Diego. We didn't represent quite like Chicago, apparently. But no, so yeah, I came up to go to school in Long Beach, didn't major in art or anything like that, but eventually I was able to get into entertainment industry through many, many, many years of like working on reality TV show sets, and even in a little bit of scripted television. I was able to make it here at the studio in 2017, same time, just a little bit, real close to Alaia's time. And yeah, it's working as a production coordinator as well.
Awesome. And for Jonny and Alaia, was Frozen 2 your first movie you were both on?
Well, Alaia started.
Yeah, I started Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right on.
So that was my first production, and then Frozen 2 was my second production. But I also did Creative Legacy.
Oh, right.
Before that. Yeah. Well, that's awesome, guys. I mean, like, one of the things that whenever we talk to people, it's crazy how different the different paths to any of these disciplines are, especially production. It seems like everyone had like, maybe it's a circuitous path, or maybe it was a straight ahead path. But we're really interested in hearing your guys' like unique journeys into animation, and kind of focusing on your personal stories and your paths into production management. So I'll sort of kick it off with that in mind, and I'll throw it out to the group. So when did you guys know that you wanted to pursue animation as a career? What do you think, Alaia?
Yeah. Man, I can't even remember, to be honest with you. It was in Minnesota. We loved Charles Schultz, who did the Peanuts comics. And so I was into comics. I was into Peanuts. I was into Garfield. Later on in life, definitely was into Boondocks and everything. When that came out as a comic strip, not the actual cartoon, but before that. And then I was also into Looney Tunes and like Nickelodeon, like all the old school stuff and everything. So from there, I was like, I want to be a cartoonist, because I didn't know what an animator was called. So I was like, I want to be a cartoonist. That was probably like before kindergarten when I just was like, I set up and I was like, nope, I'm going to be in art and that's it. And then once I discovered Disney, which was probably like around like Little Mermaid time, so like I think what was it 1990 about or 1989? That's when I was like, okay, I want to work for Disney. And from there, like the goal was just like one step to get to Disney, to get to Disney, to get to Disney. That's kind of
crazy. Okay.
And Alaia, you were drawing a lot too as a kid, right? Because I only found out you drew so much during Inktober. I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people don't know, or they assume that production people are just like very office management. It's not true. Like a lot of the production employees that I work with, they have art degrees in 3D and 2D animation. Like for me, like I actually have a degree in art animation, and I do a lot of visual development and everything too, and also comics. So everyone's creative. It's just kind of like where you put it, basically. But yeah, I do a lot of drawing, and I started out drawing too, and wanting to obviously getting a degree in art.
Right.
Very cool.
Cool. Jasmine?
Sure. So for me, my home base is the Midwest in Chicago, and a lot of my family is still in Chicago. Like we kind of don't really leave like the bubble. So I actually got the Posse Foundation Scholarship, which I don't know if a lot of people know, but it's like a leadership foundation where, you get financial aid to go to school, but you go with a group of people from the town that you're in. So you have that support group. So that was my ticket into working in California, because I don't think I would have been able to pay for it, honestly, with my financial situation. So I do this scholarship, and I go to Pomona College in Claremont. And I ended up doing a lot of internships like in the entertainment industry. Like I didn't know production management was a thing in animation for a really long time. I just remember that like watching animation and being in love with it, but I found myself watching the behind the scenes stuff a little bit more than the actual content, because I'm like, ooh, how do they do this? I'm like, look at that team, it's so cool, and how do they figure that out? So I think from there, I was just like really interested in figuring out how the team worked together. But I just did like so many different types of internships in college, where I was like at a booking agency, at a late night talk show, at a soap opera for live action, just doing different things. And like Disney summer internship was always on my mind. And every summer I get like a little closer, like the phone interview, I didn't get it. The next year was like the summer, like for the summer internship, I like met in person, didn't get it. And it was always like a little bit closer, until I finally had a summer internship there, and I was working at the studios, but on the live action side. And then I worked with them for about a year, like going to classes all day, having an on-campus job, and then working, at the studios. And then my time for them was up, and they said, we love to throw your resume over to animation. And I was like, what is this? Like production management? This is a thing? And it's really just like how you know someone, like every opportunity can lead to another opportunity. So I think it wasn't until I was in college that I was like, oh, this is something that's actually possible for me. Like I'm not an artist, so like this is how I can get my foot in the door. Right. So mine came a little bit later than Alaia's.
Yeah.
Do you remember, Jasmine? Because from what I'm learning about production management, you all come in different ways, and there's no like courses at colleges. There's not many like classes out there. So do you remember that moment, like where you found out and how? Was it literally just that like resume being passed along?
I think so, because I think the more I put myself out there for different opportunities, like I remember when I interned for a soap opera, I didn't put my name in the hat for that. Like it was like a recruiter for this other internship. I kept trying, like tossed my resume that way, and I ended up getting an opportunity. So for me, it was a lot of like that, like thinking about the job. It's a lot of skills that I think a lot of people can learn. But I wouldn't say like my degree was in media studies, and some of it is helpful, but I wouldn't say necessarily I use it on the day-to-day for what we do.
Yeah. But you were always a Disney fan, because I'm kind of curious. Who's a bigger Disney fan between you and Alaia? Jonny, I I think you're close too, but those two just take it to the next
Well,
level.
come on.
I think it's Jasmine in this one.
I don't know, Alaia. Like, you know a lot more than me.
I know because I'm a cast member, so
But-
I need to know.
Yeah, Jazz, you would go to the parks every weekend because you wanted
I
to.
could.
Alaia
If I
was there
could.
every weekend because it was work.
Work.
That's
We work
true,
hard
that's
to
true.
play.
I want to go to Disneyland with you. That'd be so fun.
Yeah. I feel like when I see you on Instagram, it's like, I wonder who's a bigger fan, Jasmine, Courtney, or Alaia. Like, those are the three that I'm like, they seem like they're always at the park.
Yeah.
That's a tough
Oh,
one.
that's a really
That's
hard
really
one.
tough. That's really tough. But yeah, that's really tough.
But yeah, so Jonny, like, tell us about your story, man.
I'm a little bit of a mix between both of you
Yeah.
guys. So I was always a huge fan. I watched everything, all animation. I was a huge Looney Tunes fan, a huge Donald Duck fan, and it just, whatever it was, I was always watching it. I'm a huge anime fan. That's right. I'm wearing a kind of a knockoff Miyazaki sort of take on it. But yeah, so I watched everything. And yeah, I was a huge fan, but I didn't think, like, I always liked to draw a little bit, but I was never like that great at it. And I had a bunch of friends who were super good at it. So it was just like, okay, well, that's not my thing, I guess, but I'll still watch. And I outlasted everybody watching it until I'm still. And it wasn't until, like, I had been working in live action for several years, at least 5 or 6 years. And then one of my friends, from high school, I ran into, and this is well after college, and I was like, hey man, what are you up to? What have you been up to? And he's like, yeah, I work at the Disney Animation Studios. I didn't know that I didn't even know. I'm like, I thought he was an animator because that's what everybody asks if you tell them that you work there. And he's like, no, I'm a PA here. I'm like, wait, they have those, And so he was telling me about it. And so basically I was just like, okay, well, however I can, let me figure out a way to do that, because I'd much rather do that, because that's something that I've always loved anyway. And like Jazz, I also would watch like the making of and seeing the background of just like how amazing that was. Because I remember I think it was on like the Disney Channel way back in the day, they used to show like, I didn't even know who they were at the time, but people like Mark Henn and Glenn Keane doing all of their work and seeing how amazing it was and seeing how cool it was. And it seemed like so much fun. And I just like was always in awe of that, but I never really thought that I could until my friend told me.
Yeah. Wow. Just
That's
that
so
opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I assume we're all like close in age, because I know like the exact documentaries you're talking about, the Lion King. I remember seeing that one, and like the lion tries to like eat Jeffrey Katzenberg for a second. And
Yeah.
he's like Mark in there. It's just the best.
I remember just seeing pictures of Mark Henn, and he was like the perfect like American Disney animation person. He had the dad mustache. He looked back at you. Oh, hi, didn't see you. I'm just drawing Jasmine in Aladdin. Come work with us at Disney. And he had the glasses and everything. And nothing's changed. He's still like that.
Yeah.
But
also, a fun fact real quick about Mark Henn, for anyone in the comments, you can look this up on YouTube. He was in Full House.
Yeah,
that's
he
right.
was.
Oh, yeah.
He was in Full House.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do the Disney
As a
parks.
Disney animator.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
I remember seeing that.
And I bring it up to him all the time and try to
And he loves it. I heard he loves it.
He loves it. Just to really follow up that question, because I mean, you all have such interesting experiences in live action and different medias. Do you think that helps your job now, like going through the reality TV or the live action sets? Do you think that plays a part in your job now?
Oh, absolutely.
I know
Go ahead, Alaia. Sorry.
Oh no, I was saying I never was in live action, but I know hospitality is big key, because it's really about working with people and different personalities. So if you're, obviously the parks are all hospitality, so it's a great training ground for dealing just like accepting other people and their differences, basically, and thinking on your feet and being very adaptable. It's like the same thing. And I'm not just talking about parks, I'm talking about like restaurants, you know, like waiters and everything like that. Like, I mean, there's like stores, you know, like all that stuff. Like, it just really is training for you to deal with situations that even come up in the studio. And like 10 years of it, it like shaped me really well to be like very much good at my job coming into the studio. So I know hospitality, even though like a lot of people don't think of it as really a skill, it's key. It really is. A lot of people, I know for a fact when it comes to, when they say production management, what really is what you need to do, what is that skill you need to have? You need to be a people person. That's for sure. Like, you need to be put into a group that maybe you don't really know, and you need to build relationships. You know, you need to build trust. So I know for a fact that hospitality is extremely important. And if you do have that skill, it's an awesome skill to have.
Right. And you really have to like dealing with people, working with people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely sets you up. And I think, yeah, I mean, thinking about hospitality, and one of the things for, at least for me, I worked in reality TV, jumping from set to set, from show to show, working with very, very different kinds of people. And there's a lot of, I know many of you who may be in the industry or may not be in the industry, there's a lot of like hurry up and wait kind of thing going on. And being able to understand that waiting in production management is very different from any other department, meaning there's no actual waiting because you're preparing. You always got to get ahead of what's coming, because things turn on a dime, and especially in production, everything, when you're starting to move and the movie's getting closer or the TV show's getting closer to being done, and you just have to be able to pivot. And that's one thing, working just on like a week of a show and just kind of being able to jump in and go. And you just kind of figure these things out and see in the rear view of all the things that you've done, and you try to apply whatever it is. And as Alaia said, it's like she worked in a place that most people don't consider like a skilled job, but it really, really is. And
It is.
You got to use everything that you've acquired just in whatever industry that you've done, because it applies. It's life, and you can use it.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Jasmine, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, to echo what both of them are saying, like, you have to be really adaptable. Like, I'm thinking back to my interview, and I had all these things on there for entertainment, different internships, but I'm remembering that, like, the production supervisor that actually ended up saying, oh, let's hire her, asked about my experience as an RA. And he spent a lot of time asking me about as being a residential advisor, like at my college, because I think he knew that you have to deal with different personalities and you have to be flexible. And just thinking about production management, like our studio allows us to rotate through different departments depending on the show. So like, we're constantly learning and constantly having to be flexible to work with a different team or a different part of the process or the pipeline. And even if you come back to the same department, the makeup of your team is different. So it's constantly, just being adaptable to that new makeup of what's your new team.
Right.
I assume too that from the outside, multitasking and problem solving seem to be like two of the big traits, just watching how you all work and can pivot on the dime, like Jonny mentioned there.
Yeah, for sure. Someone in the comments feels you, Jasmine, as an RA in her college. They feel you.
That's awesome.
I do not envy you, though. I do not envy you.
It's not easy.
While we're talking about this too, guys, we were just kind of wondering, if we can talk about some of the biggest challenges that you guys faced when you were trying to get your foot in the door and break in. What were some of your experiences, some of the challenges, and how you found your way around them, that kind of thing? We're going to open it up.
I'll go. I think the big thing was when I graduated from college back in '08, the recession hit and there was no jobs for anyone. It was a hard time, and I couldn't find a job in art or in production. And at that point, I knew about production management. I actually found out about production management in college, just like my professor just mentioned a little tidbit about people helping them out. And then I was like, oh, okay, cool. So there are people on the other spectrum of the studio. Mm-hmm. It was really tough because that recession actually lasted a few years. Especially the animation industry is actually pretty tiny. And it was very hard to get work. So basically what I had to do is bide my time. And doing that, reason why I was at Disney for so long was I get bored very easily, which is also why it's great to have production, because you're always going places, you're always doing something. So it's really great for if you need to be a multitasker. So at the parks, I would transfer to different departments because I was like, I need to do something different. So I, like, let me go to, like, I was attraction hostess. So like Muppets and It's Touch Be Bug, even though they're not there anymore. My rides.
Yeah.
To her care, like I was there, but not anymore. Aladdin, I was there. Again, all my rides are like done. But I went to Cars Land, I went to Animation Academy and everything like that. And then when that was not satisfying me, I was like, let me go back to school. Let me try to educate myself while I'm waiting for my big break. So I went to community college, and I was great at character design. I was not good at environment design. So I took classes to get better at environment design. I mean, I did anything that I could at, networking, with my classmates, with my teachers, anything to help me out. I went to cons, I went to WonderCon, and that's where I met my recruiter that helped me out. Like, I mean, just trying to be productive to keep me going, because it was very hard. Because sometimes like during those years, I was like, let me switch to medical, let me switch to a practical job like my parents want me to do. Maybe this is not right for me, and then it made me so unhappy. And then I was like, I gotta go back. I love art too much. I gotta go back. And so I kept on just taking classes and, just waiting. And when I met my recruiter, what she told me, I did exactly what she said. Like, I did not, when she told me like, hey, you need to email me in 2 weeks. Like, I made an event on my calendar, an alarm to email her and not forget, because it was that important to me.
Right.
And that's what kept me going.
Right.
I love that you kept that, you use that time to just kind of work on your own craft. I think that's super important to hear, and that you're putting yourself out there as much as you did, like networking, like you said, all the conferences, because that you don't know how long those lulls might last, that kind of like downtime in the industry. So I love that you just put that time to really good use.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then what do you think, Jasmine, some of the sort of hurdles you had to overcome and challenges that you had to like fight back against, like getting this crazy industry?
Yeah, I think when you don't know someone in the industry, I think you get, or at least for me, I had a lot of like imposter syndrome and like self-doubt. Like, I remember in college, I drove down to Beverly Hills for an internship interview, and the guy who was like, either he was an executive or something like that, and I remember him asking me like, and I'm like an undergrad, maybe a freshman or a sophomore, and he goes, what makes you better than the graduate from USC or UCLA that's like coming in next to the door? And like, it was harsh, and I was just like, I don't know, like I'm just trying to like break into the industry. So I think it's, for me, one of the hardest things was like feeling like I belong or I deserve these opportunities. And especially because everyone's path is so different, I think you can question like, am I doing the right steps? Because there is no proper steps to take. Everyone is so different. So I think for me, it was a lot of like trying different ways to get in. Like, when I was interning at a booking agency, it was me and one other person in an office in Beverly Hills, but it took me 3 hours every Friday to come back from my internship to campus. And I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I sitting in the car and putting all of this work in? Like, I just didn't know. But the more like I said yes to different opportunities, the more networking happened, and it just all fell into place. So I think there is just a lot of moments, you know, similar to Alaia, where we're like, do I change what I want to do? Like, do I do something different? You know, maybe my family doesn't get it. They're like, why are you putting all this work in? So I think it's a lot of internal learning of like trusting yourself. Like, I'm one step at a time and one piece at a time, and then I'm going to get to where I want to be.
Right.
Jasmine, did you ever face like any of your family back home in Chicago, like trying to like come home, come be with us, trying to pull
like
you
did
back?
they oh my gosh, all the time. And even still now, like being at the studio for like 8 years, like if I call my grandmother, or I did actually this week, and she was like, you can quit your job, you can come live with me, I'll cook for you. Like, I think there's a lot of things there of like trying to figure it out, especially when you're not from LA and you're constantly questioning yourself of like, is this worth it? Like, do I have enough trust in the process and in myself and faith in my dreams that like this is going to happen, to know I'm missing out on so much at home?
Yeah.
So it's hard for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, Jazz, I totally can echo some of that feeling of just the difficulty. And I think one of the main things for me that was so difficult was having the patience, because it took a real long time to get started. It took a real long time to get going for me. And I know there's others who have had it as well, but it was difficult in the sense that, like, when I graduated school and stuff, it took me more than a year to find a job, and then just any job. And it was in reality TV, and it wasn't really what I wanted, but it was a foot in the door. And through that, though, like, there were some openings, like you were saying, Jazz, about like with talking to people and being able to network and finding different ways to get closer and closer to where you wanted to go. I was able to get to work in some scripted television for a little while through that. And through the scripted television, I was able to start working at Universal Television and just doing like executive assistant work, temping. Like, I was doing that for a few years while I was trying to get into animation, and countless interviews and just, you know, doors closing and then a new one opens and another one closes, and just kind of finding that spirit within me, and with a little bit of help from loved ones who did believe, and not everybody gets that. I was very fortunate, but you have to find it within yourself to keep going too, because sometimes it can get really daunting. And of course, like all of us have said, like, there's a point where you kind of feel like, is this worth it? Am I ever going to get anything? And can I afford to keep trying? Like, can I survive? Like, out here in Los Angeles, for one, is extremely difficult generally. And then, you know, hopping from job to job, and generally they're not always the best paying jobs when you're waiting to get somewhere, you know, if you just take whatever you want to take. And temping it's all just, well, they might need me this week, I don't know about next week, you know. So it was really difficult, but having that patience and having that drive to reach where you want to go, and making sure and hoping that that's more powerful than anything that's stopping you.
Jonny, to that point, did you have like a North Star or kind of a goal that kept you going through all those like rejections and that kind of stuff?
It was more that I just wanted to work. I wanted to work with Disney was the main thing. Like, that was the place that I wanted to be. And there were other potential options, and they were not things that I wanted to do. And I think generally, after working for several years on projects that when people ask me what I'm working on, I'm just like, it's this one, you know, not really feeling proud of it. It was like, I want to work on something that I'm really proud of, something that I can say, yeah, I worked on it. And yeah, that was really kind of the goal for me, because I was kind of tired of not being able to talk to people about things that I was working on. So
right.
Jonny, can I just add to that? Did you move to LA without a job searching for something in the industry, or were you applying from? And I guess this could go for all of you too. Were you kind of like moving here with a leap of faith, or were you applying in San Diego?
Well, for me, I went to school in Long Beach, so I was living up there through college, and then it was just kind of like, yeah, let's see if I can do this. Let's see if I can go.
Did any of you give yourselves like because I've talked to other artists and production people about this, they give themselves like a window, like if I can't land a job in like a year, I guess I'll go like become a dentist like my parents want me to, or whatever. Did you have that window, that end goal?
No. Only because like I think, I don't know, one track mind. I love art too much. And again, like I tried to be a nurse actually. And then like, when I went to the community college, I was like, oh man, look at that art program. It looks so great. Oh, those kids look like they're having so much fun. Oh man, they're so talented. I'll just take one class. It won't hurt. I mean, like seriously, that's what happened. And then I was like, I'll forget it. It's over. I'm just gonna take all classes. So, yes, it was supposed in college. Yeah. I'm reading the things. But yeah, so it crossed my mind but I have friends that did that gave them a time, and they're very unhappy. They miss their art. So I was like, I can't do that. I got to try. So I couldn't give myself a time for that reason.
And it takes time. I mean, it takes a long time, like you evolve.
Yeah. It sounds like once you set your mind to it, like once you've sort of set, I mean, I think the thing that I see with a lot of people and my friends too, is that it's a blessing to have to finally realize that goal that you're shooting for. That's a blessing, right? Because once you have that, you can sort of like muster all the courage and inspiration you have to shoot after that goal. But like I understand that it's not often that people find that, right? It's not often that people find the target that they're trying to shoot for and they want to go for. So I think with animation, it sort of changed my life and changed all our lives. It just kind of gave us a direction and gave us something to shoot for. And once you have something to shoot for, I think like you just like work like heck to get there. Sounds like it's common in all your like paths. So like once you know, right?
And once you do get there, it's hard to imagine doing anything else.
Right. Yeah. So that's awesome, you guys. I mean, that's great. That's great. That's awesome. And so now that you're here, you've worked your ass off, you've made it, and you're working in production for animation. What do you guys think are some of the most rewarding aspects of working in production for animation? You know, just kind of the big wins, or just kind of like just kind of the challenges once you get your foot in the door, because the journey isn't over at that point, right?
No.
Far from it.
Yeah. What do you think, Alaia?
I think one of my big personal wins when I got into the studio was I was able to work under, or actually like see a production designer really work in lighting on Ralph, and Jasmine can talk about this because we were working on the same team together. And it was like mind-blowing. It was Correy. It was mind-blowing. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like seeing him make little tweaks in dailies and all this like about color correction. It was just crazy. It was like crazy to me. And it was great because like even though like I'm just watching it, I'm just like it's like learning. Like I'm learning like, wow, like that's what you can do with just like that little like like that little fix or whatever. Like it was like one of the best sessions I ever had. Like when I remember, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, I am actually working here. I work here. Like that's crazy. Like I'm working with all the legends. One of the most difficult, I think, is leaving your team, to be honest, especially when you have a really, really great bond. I think all the production go through it, all the production management people go through it, where you just make great friends and you guys you go to battle together and crunch and everything, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I gotta be assigned to somewhere else, that's always hard because you're just it's rare that we're gonna all be together again in the same instant. So that's always hard every time it happens. It's always hard.
Oh, very nice.
That's so sad.
I know you two miss each other.
I know, that's what I was about to say. I was like, they're talking about you and Anna.
Oh, that is so sad. Yeah, because you go through the trenches together and you're in this area together and you're in every meeting for 10 hours plus a day. It's spend a lot of time with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So your biggest, the most rewarding thing for you, Alaia, was just kind of learning, just kind of learning aspect of every. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, learning everything. And I was fortunate to go into a lot of departments when I first became a PA. So I pretty much learned a lot of the departments in a very small time. So very fortunate, and it was great. It was a great experience.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. What do you think, Jasmine? Rewarding, moments, aspects of working in design. Your just sort of any win on Frozen 2 or Wreck-It Ralph, where you're just I'm gonna remember this forever. This is amazing.
So actually, I was on Moana for 3 years. Which in production management, you can be on a project for 3 to 5 years or months.
Wow.
So, I just remember when they were like, we're going to put you in front end or in story and editorial on Moana. And, John Musker, Ron Clements, I am like this every story session because I'm it's a part of the learning that Alaia is talking about. I'm just soaking it all in. And I'm such a Disney fan. So then when they would be like, oh, so on The Little Mermaid, we had this issue and he solved it. Or on Aladdin, I'm like, yes, tell me more. What else happened? So I was loving it. And I think just watching the film just really, really grow, because on Moana, I just remember when it was is it Maui's story? Is it Moana's story? What do we want to say with this? Very early on, and just to be so lucky to be in that room and really watch it evolve, I think is just so awesome that I'm just very lucky to have that experience.
Was it a shock to you that the process is so organic?
Oh, completely, yeah. It's just it's so shocking until you're in it, just to see what the process is like. And I don't know how many people that are in the chat know, but we screen a version of the film every 10 to 12 weeks, and we put it up and really look at it. And that was new to me too. You think it's live action, you write a script and that's it. So this thing is constantly evolving, and in so many different departments, it's morphing into something really different. So I think, learning, I said, learning from everyone around me is just so rewarding in itself. But I think for me, there's no moment when you go home back to the Midwest and you get a movie ticket and you sit next to your family and you watch that movie and you watch them more than you watch the movie. Because when you watch the movie, you're shot 27, that had an error, we redid this in animation, that line used to be different. The film is very different for us. So I'm just watching my mom and my grandma and being what do you think? That's definitely the most rewarding, but it takes a while to get there because that's at the end.
I think
so you really just have to be in the perspective.
It takes a couple of years. Yeah,
years.
That's wild. You spent 3 years with Moana. That's and that's being with Ron and John. That's living a DVD extra. The things we just talked about. You're living it.
I know. You remember, Jasmine? I don't know if anyone knows this too, but remember every morning the Moana team used to do the haka?
I was up there. We learned how to do the I was there when it was like, oh, should we do this? And then we were learning how to do it. And then it was like, we would do it every morning.
Every morning they did the haka, right? And I remember like, Moana was on the 3rd floor, production was on the 2nd floor, and we would hear stomping. And then we would hear like screaming every single morning. And it's because like the team did the haka every morning. For like years.
I feel like that lasted years, and I think for like the first year we thought it was ongoing construction upstairs. Do you remember that? I remember thinking, oh, they're just like, I don't know, building the roof.
They would do it. They would do it. Like the first meeting in the morning, they would do the haka, and it was crazy because it was just like kind of it wasn't, you know, Polynesians in, you know, on the islands. It was like a bunch of animation people in an office with kind of like laptops and paper everywhere. And then we would all get together and they would just like stomp on the ground. And it was crazy. I mean, their commitment to that was so awesome. It was crazy. Yeah.
Would Jasmine, would Dave Pimentel kind of lead that, or?
Yeah.
It was Jeff Raymond, right?
Well, both of them. It was either of them would like lead it, and they lead it with so much passion. So like we're doing it with passion, so it just sets you up for your day and the camaraderie of like, yes, we're in this together. Yeah. Okay, now let's do a story pitch to see if this works. Yep. You know, so it was just a great way to start.
Yeah.
And everyone's just sweaty from.
Yeah, you get sweaty if you're really into it.
Wouldn't you guys be tired and crunch? I mean, geez, like after that, you're just like, well, okay, that's my day. I'm done.
I know. Yeah, I know. What do you think, Jonny? Like some of your most like kind of like satisfying, rewarding experiences in production so far?
Yeah, it's actually, I mean, you both, Jazz and Alaia, both said pretty much the same kind of things. I'll probably echo here, but I've always really been into like learning the process and like, again, watching the DVDs and seeing all the extras and how it gets done, and then getting to actually be a part of it and seeing and learning so much, because even watching those, you have no idea. Like you come in and you're just like, wait a second, and you're kind of deer in the headlights for a first like couple months, really. You're just like, okay. But then I think what gets really rewarding is like the day that you finally get it, the day that you're like actually ahead of the game and people are like, oh, hey, yeah, thanks for doing that. I didn't even get to ask you yet. You know, things like that when you're just kind of, when you start to grasp the process. But the thing about that is that doesn't last because it's always changing, which is great. So you're always learning. And then going to different departments and learning new things about the process. And, you know, people have talked about like the machine and whatnot, but there really isn't one, because it's consistently evolving with every project we do. And I'm pretty sure this is, you know, kind of the way it should be. And it's just so amazing to be able to see that. It's really cool to be a part of it. And then again, as Alaia said, the team, you know, being with the team and leaving your team is really tough, but being with your team, because when you're in, because I worked in editorial in the last one, and you're doing, you know, 16-hour days, 16-hour days for like 2 years. And so you're in on the weekends with people for a long time. And so you're with them forever. And so they're like, they become family to you. And I still talk to my editorial team from Frozen 2, and we still like do our weekly like video chats and things like that, you know? So, and we still got the same jokes and still make fun of each other the same way, you know, whatever. And it's fun. That's super rewarding just to be able to like have that kind of camaraderie. And then again, in the end, seeing the finished product. And I actually kind of like being able to watch movies in a weird way where I'm like, oh God, I could talk to you about this one 3-second shot for like 25 hours. You know, like we went through 18 different versions of this, and oh man, I wish we didn't cut that part out, because that would have worked. It worked so much better. Every time I look at the shot, you know, just things like that. And knowing the shot numbers, is just ridiculous.
I was gonna ask if you see, because I think animators will see like video reference or blocking or different versions of the shot? Do you just see numbers and spreadsheets? Do you just see like, oh gosh, that's version 26. It was 2 weeks late.
Oh yeah, yeah. Trent. No,
Yes, no.
I see your shots. I'm like, yeah, we were waiting for Trent on that one. He had too many. No.
We're alluding to it in the chat, but I think when you get into animation or like in filmmaking, you're the worst to watch movies with. The worst.
Yeah.
Especially animated movies. And you'd be like, I'm like, do you know who animated this? It's this guy's name, Nick Rainier. He animated The Candle, like Beauty and the Beast, and this and that, and then he went through this spat and this, and then like they're like, I don't care. Who cares? You're supposed to watch animated movies with. And I'm like, but just Ben King. They're like, I don't care. That's why it's hard to talk to people outside our industry. For me, I don't know how.
Yeah, no, it's true. And then too, like because Jazz, you also did story and you did edit, and just being there from the very beginning, because I did both story and edit on Frozen 2, and it was just like, oh my God, I remember the storyboards for this one. And, you know, I remember the original script pages for this shot or whatever it is. And you just think about it and it's like, wow, you see the entire process. And like all that stuff, and being able to be like a super nerd about it is super rewarding to me. So. Did
you guys all work on Frozen 2?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you guys?
I actually worked with Trent. I was in animation on Frozen 2.
Yeah, we're like.
I know, right?
Sorry, go ahead, Trent.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, like, oh yeah, Leia and I were like 15 feet away from each other during Frozen 2, and you know, like our team was awesome. And like you said, they're such people person. I mean, it's the artists and production have to work together like every step of the way. But I was gonna ask you all, are you all watching the Frozen documentary? Because I know that brings back.
Says Jonny makes cameos in.
Jonny has a few cameos.
Oh yeah,
I was like, I binge watched it. I was like, Jonny.
He's in there. Yeah.
Trent was all over that thing.
Dang.
Alaia's in there too. I spotted Alaia a couple times.
I haven't seen it yet.
Focus a little bit.
It was 6 hours, and I was like, whoa, 6 hours. You know.
It brings back some cool memories, though. It's fun to watch, and to Jasmine, your point, like you kind of get to see that story process that you're talking about, which is pretty cool for them to show on the documentary.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's very cool. Was it weird to see a documentary that happened like 2 years ago, and
a little
coming out now?
It kind of did, like. Going back to what you said about the movie thing, like it's funny because when I was watching the documentary and I was watching the daily session, I remember all that. It's like, oh yeah, that happened just like yesterday. Like, and every time I watch Frozen 2, I don't see the shot. I see the artist that did it.
Right.
I'm just like, oh, that's so and so. That's so and so's shot. And then I even see like, you know, just like the iterations of the shot too.
Alaia,
crazy.
Listen, you have hit on every department at Disney forever in the matter of time. When I watch when I watch Wreck-It Ralph, I can't watch it as a movie. I'm like, oh, this was this person's shot. Oh, and then it goes to this person, and then it goes to Tony Smeet. Oh, and then this is Chad. It's just it's like a yearbook. It's not a movie. It's a yearbook of people that did shots together. And then sometimes I'll remember, oh, this person lit it. And then I'll remember, oh, Correy designed this funny costume, or Brittany designed this, set, or Lorelai designed a set. It's just amalgam of just kind of like a yearbook of like people that worked on it. I can't watch those movies at all. They're not movies. It's kind of like this kind of amalgam of like a yearbook.
And every department has their own version of that. Like whether it's the look department that's looking at all the clothing or the textures in the backgrounds, or the lighters that are looking at every like little shimmer. We all have our own version of
that. Yeah, it's so funny. It's so true.
Hey, what do you think about getting to some of the questions? Because I'm noticing some really good ones come through here.
Yes.
And
for the Q&A, or
what's that?
For the Q&A.
Yeah, I was just because one that came on here a couple times is what does applying to be in production management look like? Like we know it's a resume based. Is that mostly resume and interview at that point?
Yeah, I know Jazz can speak about that a little bit more than Alaia and I, but yeah, at least in our process, that's what we did. You have to have a resume, you submit it, hopefully they will post something online and then you'll be able to submit there, and then you kind of do the interview circuit that leads to it. So
yeah, and I would say like in this group, I think our interview experiences were very different. Like I came into the studio in 2012, and I remember it was like a phone interview, and then it was an interview of 3 people and me, and then 7 people and me. So it's, but then I think it's kind of changed a little bit where it could be like 2 people and you. So it's not just art degrees, it's all over in terms of like, what kind of resumes come their way and what they're looking for. And it's for the need for, if you're a good fit for the studio overall, because I think they like to put us in different departments. So it wouldn't be like, oh, it's just a good fit for this department. It's like the ability to move to different departments. So yeah, like Jonny said, it's a resume and it's an interview. But I think we're just looking for like who feels like a good fit with the family kind of we've created.
Yeah, and when you mentioned Jonny about the job application up on the website, and Alaia, earlier you talked about going to conferences and festivals. Like, were you all just checking job boards and like putting resumes out to many different companies when you were starting out, or what was that like, trying to find the job positions?
It was really, it's hard to sift through it because you see a lot of them, but then you see them like they're months and months ago sometimes, and you're just like, is this a thing? Did they just forget to take it off? Like, you really don't know. So basically what I had to do was I went to the expos and CTN, obviously, and I went to the WonderCon, and basically what ended up happening was, again, I found my recruiter, and after that it got a little easier. It just was making sure that I kept on it, because even though I found someone that was in the studio did not mean that I could get in, because I'm not the only one that's interviewing. It's probably like thousands and thousands of applications that are coming in, and they're probably way more experienced when it comes to the industry than I am. Like, I never worked at a studio until Disney, to be honest. So the odds are a little bit against me because I didn't have that industry experience. I just had more of like this, this people person experience, and training experience. And so basically, like, I just asked questions. I asked, if it was available to me, I was like, hey, could you look at my resume? Can you tell me what I could change about it? I looked up a lot of interview websites, or just like, on Google or something, just like be like, hey, like top interviews or whatever, just anything to keep me motivated, and also research, to keep me going. Because once I did get to do the interview process, it was basically just groups of people interviewing me, and I, had to think on my feet. And I also remember that I always use recent experiences. When they did ask me things, I did not go back to 5 months ago, this is what happened. I used that a week ago or a day ago, this is what happened and this is how I handled it. So always keeping like that, like what I'm doing is relevant, to this job, so basically, yeah, I think that was what
That's a cool tip. And when you got in touch with like recruiters or had interviews, would you all like carry on email correspondence or use LinkedIn? Like, were there ways that you kept in touch with these people you met in the industry?
Yeah, like I was told to get a LinkedIn. I didn't have one, so I got a LinkedIn. I set that up, and then I just emailed with what I was comfortable with. basically. And because, I don't want to bug, you don't want to bug that person that's trying to help you out. So I decided to be like, okay, I'm just going to do this, at this time and see what happens. And thankfully, my instincts were correct, and I was able to develop a relationship. And, and then they were able to help me get interviews.
It's always a hard line of trying not to bug the person, but trying to make them remember that you're here. Like, hey, look at me.
Very thin line. It's tough sometimes. It really is tough.
It is.
Do you want to go back to some more questions from the Q&A? We don't have to keep you for much longer, but this is a good one. Emily Evavold asks, what exactly do the job requirements require for an animation PA? And then what do you do when you are an animation PA? What are some of your tasks? Is that a loaded question?
There are a lot of tasks.
We're all like, which one of us is going to take it?
Chime in. It doesn't have to go in order. Just chime in.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the requirements, and I think this will last you for your entire career, is just being able to hold a good conversation and being a good listener, because there is a lot that you're going to have to be able to do in this job that deals with conversation. So communication is the main thing, really, that you need to be able to do, because it's all about information. When you're in production management, it's maintaining, relaying it, all sorts of just being able to have that information at your fingertips, to communicate it clearly and to take in the information, because it's going to be there's so much data, so much stuff that you need to know, so much that you got to continue to pass along in order to make the project go. So that's one thing that you definitely want to be able to have a good skill. Good communication skills are paramount, but that's only part of the game, really, because there's just so many different tasks depending on the department you're in. It changes. And it's interesting because I never really considered myself much of like a computer person, but now I am like a tech person, and people come to me with their tech questions because I had to learn it just being in production. So there's so many things that you figure out along the way too, and strengths that you find. And you don't have to be perfect in order to get in. You just have to be adaptable too. That's a big thing, because again, we move around so much. We're in different departments all the time. We may be in it, as Jazz said, you may be in it for 3 months, you may be in one for 3 years. There's just so many different possibilities. So you got to be able to adjust.
Just to piggyback on the adaptability, because I saw in the question here, like the three of you are very calm and collected people, it seems, and like, it always seems like stress doesn't get to our production teams at work, but I'm sure you're in very stressful situations a lot of the time. Like how do you deal with that? Because that must be a major part of the job, to kind of not show that level of stress ever.
I think for me, it definitely takes practice, because I think for me, coming into the studio, like, I'm a sponge, like, I'm just trying to learn everything, but also learn certain departments' personality, and this part feeds into this part. So I think the more that you build a relationship with your team, you realize how to adapt to them, and like what are their stressors, but then also like, what are my stressors? So then I try not to put myself in situations where my stressors are really there, and just constantly thinking about it all. That was my door. Sorry. I don't know what's happening outside. It's hard. It's definitely something that you learn over time and you get practice with. Like, as a production assistant, you could drive animation dailies and you learn so much. Like, yeah, that person is putting the shot up and saying, Trent shot 72 or whatnot, but they're also like observing the dynamics in the room and like kind of like who's leading the room. So I think every moment you can learn. is just super valuable for that. And then me being a production supervisor, like the higher up you go, there's definitely more stress, but also different types of stress. Like it's partnering with the creative and thinking about the bigger schedule of like, how are we going to get inventory in and out of our department as a whole to make sure we can feed our surrounding departments. And everyone deals with it differently. You know, some people are able to shut off work, like at 6 o'clock they're done, and other people are not like that. So I think you just figure out what works for you.
Right. There's the delegating aspect of it too. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
I saw another question here. That was great, Jasmine, by the way. I saw another question here that I think is a pretty common question on the art side, but I've never quite heard an answer on the production side is, do you need a degree to do this job? Because I hear this a lot on the animation side. You need a degree, and it's mostly portfolio work. Can any of you talk to that? If certificate programs or degree or a master's, like what the importance of that paperwork means?
I believe that at our studio, they're looking for a degree, like a bachelor's degree. I don't know about certificates. I really couldn't tell you about that, but I know it's useful for sure. And I think it just helps you at least get your foot in the interview, get yourself in the interview to have that. So it's, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in art. It doesn't have to be in film. It doesn't have to be in anything like that. It can, anything that's applicable. Cause I was a communications major. And I think you can just, there's a broad spectrum of different skills that you can have. And I see somebody just said finance. Perfect. Cause lots of numbers, you're dealing with numbers, you're dealing with that. So that would be great. Anything like that.
And I'm sure, Jonny, that answer probably changes per studio too, right? Like in the live action world, it might be different for every studio in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And Steph, who works with us, she just said internships.
So true, girl. So true.
So, those sorts of things too.
Yeah.
That goes right in line with I had a question here and then I scrolled up and then I lost it. Sorry guys. But sorry, go ahead, Trent, if you had something.
Sure. Well, I mean, since was it Stephanie Lopez that brought up the internship?
Yeah.
Hey, Stephanie. How important are those internships? I mean, you all went through kind of different stages of that. How important are those internships to seek them out? And did your colleges kind of help you find those?
I'll go first for this one because I did a lot of them. But my first internship was like with a booking agency in Beverly Hills. And kind of to Alaia's point, like I saw a posting that was like months old and I was like, is this still valid? And my college was great enough to give me course credit for doing an unpaid internship. So I emailed them and they were like, oh, we didn't even know this post was up here still. Yeah, come on down. And it was seriously me and another person in a giant office for like all day that I was there. But I just think for me, it really helped because it was like one opportunity led to another opportunity. Like that opportunity led to an opportunity to work at a late night talk show, which I don't even know if they post or I have no idea, but she like threw my resume that way. She's like, oh, I'm thinking they're like have summer interns, let me just toss it that way. And then you do another interview and you just never really know. Like for me, that was it. But I do remember when I was working at that show, I was shadowing, I think it was like a director or producer. At one time he was like, oh, who in your family is in the business? And I was like, nobody. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm figuring out a little bit as I go. But like to get that question, I had already felt like at a disadvantage of like, oh, so many people know somebody. So I just kind of had to, make my own path of like, I'm going to take this internship right now. It's not going to feel like a lot because maybe it's not like a big company, but it's going to lead me somewhere else and somewhere else. So like for me, I think that was ultimately like how I got to Disney, was doing that route.
It kind of sounds like once you got your foot in the door and you were just doing awesome work, the ball just kind of kept rolling, right? Like they were able to pass you along and help you out and lead to the next job, which is pretty cool.
And it's hard too, because like if you're an intern and there's a group of 10 interns, you're like trying to stand out among the group of interns. Like technically everyone has their foot a little bit in the door, but you're still trying to like build relationships very quickly. Right. So it's constantly hustling and meeting people and being like, how can I help? How can I help? You know, where can I learn?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I will say that I never got an internship. I tried. It's super competitive. It's very, very hard to get an internship in the industry now. It seemed like it was easier when I was in college, but I can't even imagine now because there's so many students that want to be in this industry. So because I couldn't get in, like I decided to go through other means, which was the expos, but also joining organizations in the industry, like Women in Animation and all that other stuff, like just anything to try to get some exposures, going to Mixon, you know, like to talk with production people or to talk with artists, like just anything to try to speak to someone in the industry. So that's also something that you could do because again, like internships, like I just never got the opportunity. I tried a lot, like, but in the end, like, you know, like it's at some point you max out because you're out of college and everything like that, and you can't do it anymore, and there's nothing for you when it comes to that. So if anything, try to go to, you know, those groups that are part of the industry too.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
I love about that, Alaia, is that you took it upon. I mean, like you're just kind of like reaching out and hustling and just trying to find any resource that you can get your hands on and reach out to make a connection or get some advice or get some resources and that kind of stuff. And I think that's super key. I don't know if that's super common amongst you know, students coming out, you know, because but I think that's what will separate the people that sort of like get their foot in the door, is that they'll every day they'll sort of try to find ways to find these different kind of resources that are within their reach, and I think that's awesome.
I'm seeing here in the chat too, a lot of people are pointing out, Brian points out, check out Women in Animation, Latinx, the Creator Society. I mean, there's all types of local groups and mixers and places to network. And I love that you said that, Alaia, to put yourself out there. And I also love, just to go back to this for a second, Jasmine, that quote you just said of like, you were not just hustling the hustle to get the job. You were like, how can I help? Like, it wasn't just like, can I meet 50 people that will lead to a job? It's like, how can I actually help? And that will, you know, kind of support that and lead to a job. And I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And I think putting yourself out there, especially when you're not able to get an internship, because I was the same as Alaia. I didn't have one. The internship I had was at my university. And so it was basically a volunteer thing. There was no real competition for that. And it just helped me learn about like using Final Cut. I mean, and using a camera sort of. And, you know, it wasn't in depth in any way with entertainment, but at least it was a little something that I made sure to find. Like it was literally a group that I volunteered for that helped me learn a little bit about the filmmaking process. Mm-hmm. And that was useful to at least put on my resume, even though it wasn't a formal thing. And then in order to get into animation, I did the same thing as Alaia. I went to CTN as well, and I met some artists there, and got to talk to them, and they kind of gave me a little insight of what their job was, and even more so than any DVD extra could, you know. And so right. I kind of I learned a lot about it that way, and mm-hmm. I actually learned how production management looks through the eyes of an artist. Like they're mm-hmm. telling me, you know, production management's a hard job, but they also got to kind of be nice too, because sometimes they can get a little tough. And like, turn this in. I'm like, okay, so now I know. So put that side of me a little behind me for a little bit. But
that's so true, Johnny. I think that's the follow-up panel of like, once you're in, like how to stay in is exactly what you're saying, of like put your put your mindset in that of an artist when you're going to them to be like, to the lines, you're gonna show your shot.
Yeah, no, for real. And that's one thing that kind of helped, at least in the interview process, was kind of understanding that and finding a way to kind of put that, to like say that in an interview. But getting the interview is really difficult, and putting yourself out there, going to these clubs, going to these meetings or whatever. I went to CTN, I went to some of the artist panels that they have at the Creative Talent Network, like, and stuff, and just tried to meet people and just be like, yeah, I'm really interested. And Jazz, you had the best thing that I've heard is, how can I help? Like, just doing that. That's really great. And I think everybody should learn from that if you want to do it.
Now, at these conferences, like, since we're talking about CTN a lot, are they doing interviews on the production side?
Usually, well, the last one I went to, no. But they had, they just had information. I know the recruiters were there, and they had information on, like, like where to apply and all that stuff when it came to our Disney animation site. So I think I don't think any of them did interviews.
So it's more about the networking when you go to those events, meeting as many as you can.
For
business
sure.
cards.
What was that?
Business cards? Do people still use business cards? Is that a thing?
Yeah,
I have.
I got a few.
I got a few. Yeah, I did.
How are we doing on questions there, Bobby?
I think we have a ton. But the interesting thing is, like, as you guys are talking, you guys are answering a lot of these questions.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
So I think I'm trying to scroll through and trying to think.
Here's from Kathy. Not a question. I just want to say thank you for all your hard work and bringing magic to the screen. P.S. Love you, Jasmine. Kathy. Oh, it must be. Is that a friend? Is that a Chicago rep?
Oh, here's a fun question we didn't touch on. So, like, Iniolo Dosu, I nailed it. Did any of you feel any sort of imposter syndrome when you got to Disney?
It's a good one.
No,
yeah.
You guys are confident AF.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, it's something I'm still dealing with. Like, after being at the studio for 8 years, like, I think that, like, higher up that you go, you're like, wow, like, it's a lot of work to be there and still be there. And, I think it's a lot of internal work you have to do, which I don't think we talk about it enough, or I don't think we support each other enough when it comes to imposter syndrome. Like, for me, like, I found my tribe of people at Disney Animation, and then I'll go to them and be like, this is how I feel, and we talk about it. So I think finding support once you get your foot in the door is really important.
Yeah.
And your support can look like, so many different things. It could be one person, it could be 3 people, it could be someone your age, someone twice your age, just to say, like, hey, like, it's very surreal to be here, or to be in this room, or be at this place. This is what I'm feeling. Have you felt like this too? And then usually 9 times out of 10, they're like, yeah, like, it's a lot to figure out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love that too, because like, I'm sure mentoring is kind of a big part of your jobs too, like taking people under your wing, and I'm sure people have kind of taken you all under their wing. Is that true, that there's a bit of like guidance
Johnny.
there? Jazz, I mean, she was my mentor. Yeah. When I came in, it was like day one. So here's Jazz. She's going to walk you through this stuff. And it was a really great. And because she's looking at me right now, I'm going to say all the nice, no, it was really great to have that. And I think that's one thing that is extremely valuable in helping you like make it through, because it is really surreal. And I know there was a point in a really great quote that I actually, Mark Hamill said, the movie that we're talking about, we can just leave it alone. But when he went to film the second to last Star Wars, he kind of got that feeling of like, wow, this is a big deal. Like, this is a really big deal.
Yeah.
But he told himself, like, if I thought that, I couldn't do what I needed to do. Like, I could not be in front of the camera. And for this, it's like, you know, every day it's, you walk through the doors or jump on the Zoom call. Anyway, you think about like what you're actually doing and what it is, and it's really tough sometimes if you're like in awe of it. It's really difficult to get the job done, and so you kind of have to try to figure out how to compartmentalize it. But then again, there's always that time, like when you see the first poster after seeing all the approvals of it and all the iterations, and then you actually see it on the side of the road, you're just like, oh my God, I forgot. And then it comes back.
What are your, because I know Alaia mentioned the like geeking out over Correy Loftus, but Jasmine and Jonny, you didn't mention your like big geek out moment. Do you have a geek out moment?
Well, mine was Ron and John, you know, being in the Moana space.
Yeah.
But then I remember the first time I saw Lynn in the building, because he did the music for Moana. And
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm sure Lynn isn't going to watch this, but like I remember.
No, he's on the call. He's on the chat right now. Lynn. Lynn,
Oh my God.
I said nothing.
Zoom screen.
What up? Say hey.
I never say. But I just, he came for a meeting or something, and I just remember like the first time we heard that he could be working on the project, or he had signed with the project. I was a hardcore fan. Like Hamilton hadn't come out yet. He did his little thing he did his performance at the White House, and it was a clip I had known. So I was like, this is really cool. And he's like the sweetest guy, super, super great. But like for me, that was like, and everyone knew it too, because I was like, yes, like he's on the project. So everyone kept like watching me, and I was just like real quiet. And like if I'm comfortable around you, like I'm not super quiet. So I was just like really, really quiet. But he's super, super nice. So that was a big one too.
Wow.
That's so awesome. Jasmine, I remember him coming by the studio a few times, and I remember one day like he was in the caffeine patch with like a hat on, and he's just hanging out there. And I was like, why is the caffeine patch so busy? There's never this many people getting coffee. And people were just like straight up, just like with the empty cup just walking by. Right? They just want to like see.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Jonny, can you top that?
No. But I do have a few moments. Somebody just put meeting Floyd Norman.
Yes, agreed.
That was amazing, because I did get to meet him. And he still comes by, well, not right now, of course, but he's been by the studio several times, just in and out. And it's amazing because he's a legend. And most of them are those sorts of things, because my first cube that I had, the first place that I worked up there was on the 3rd floor, right next to Bernie Mattinson. He's been there for 67 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
so
worked there for 67 years, right?
Yeah. 67 years. Yeah. So he used to hand Walt Disney his like petty cash. Like, what? So that was really cool, getting to meet him and see him every morning. And then I do remember like one of the first days that I had, I was pinning a board for Frozen 2, and then one of the directors shows up, Chris Buck, and sits next to me and starts helping me pin a board and just saying, hey, so hi, my name's Chris. I'm like, I know who you are, man. And he just like chatting with me and stuff, and
that's very sweet.
Talking to me about his dogs and just like being yeah, it was awesome. And I know I was like just kind of like, this is cool. And
that's so Chris Buck too, just walking in there, hey, how can I help? How was your weekend?
Yeah.
Like totally cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome, you guys. We're closing in on like an hour and a half, and to be respectful of you guys' time, I think it'd be nice if we just kind of closed out on just giving some advice on people trying to break into production for animation. What sort of like little bits of words of encouragement you can tell them. Alaia, we can start with you. What?
Sure.
Sorry, I always start with you. I'm going podcast. Sorry.
That's okay. It's okay. I would say I know it's tough, especially now and everyone's inside and everything. You have to be patient. It sucks. It really, really is frustrating. But while you are waiting, you can do things to better yourself. So, any skill, anything that you think that would pertain to what you want to do when it comes to art, when it comes to production management, when it comes to technology, like there are classes out there are online classes that's been happening even before this happened that are great. And you should take advantage of that. You should take advantage of it. You should take advantage of tutorials on Instagram and on YouTube that artists are for free. They're just teaching you how to do this. That's what I did a long time ago when I was an art student. So I would say to try your best to make the situation into a growing experience for yourself and a learning experience. So once everyone's able to go back out, you're ready. So
love it. I love it.
That's great.
I love it. Jazz?
For me, and it's also something I wish I had learned earlier, was to never doubt that you don't belong in a room, whether it's the interview room, whether it's a CTN to network. Don't be nervous, because you deserve these opportunities. Like, everyone's voice is important, everyone's story is important, and everyone brings something to the table. Sometimes we make our own table. You're always welcomed at our table, but don't ever feel like you don't deserve it, because I think that, and then just like what Alaia is saying, is constantly bettering yourselves is only going to make you stronger, and it's going to get you further to get where you want to go. And then the other thing, just thinking about how we were talking about interview tips and things like that, like when you're talking about wanting to get into animation, don't just tell people about your passion. Show me your passion. Show me what is it about working in animation that excites you. Like, it's more than just getting your foot in. It's like really, really show, like, because it's interesting. I know in the interview room, sometimes it's hard, especially with these really big companies. You're like, I'm such a fan. And there's a lot of fans, but I want to see like your passion for working on these projects. And that's a fine line. It's very tricky, but that's like the one big piece of advice I would have, especially for the interview process.
That's awesome.
That's such a good tip.
That's great.
Thanks, Jazz. Thanks a lot. How am I supposed to follow that one?
Alaia went first. How do you think I felt?
I should have reversed it.
I also like, Jasmine, too, that you kind of fit in a little Lin-Manuel. You got to be in the room where it happens.
Yeah, see, he knew.
Oh.
Yeah.
I felt that. I felt you slip it in there.
So what do you think,
Yeah.
Jonny?
Well, yeah, I think, echoing everything that each of them both have said, and also, being persistent, being dedicated, remembering what got you going for it in the first place. And, whether or not you have someone backing you up or not, know what you're capable of, believe in what you're capable of, believe in, again, what you deserve, and just to go for it and go for your dreams. Don't give up, keep going, because it's a tough thing. It's hard. It takes time. Some people are able to get in quicker than others. Don't compare yourself to others. Be you. And when you go into the interview room, I think that's one of the biggest things that I've heard from people who do the interviews and have met the people outside and then see them in the interviews and say, they're so different in the interview. What's going on? Like, I know you're great. You could have, you can do it. It's like, be yourself in the interview. Like, that's what got you in the door. And I know you might be, worried about putting on like your, you know, your phone voice or whatever it is, but we need personality in the walls. You know, you need somebody, you need your authentic self to be in these rooms, to be a part of these companies, to put these great stories out, because diversity in voices, diversity in personalities and everything is so important. And that's what everybody wants. I mean, it's the companies that are just like, well, we want everybody to look like us and sound like us and be like me. It's like that. They don't last very long. They don't put out things that people like. So you got to do what you can do, be who you can be. I guess that's all I got.
That's awesome. A great note. That's a great
you almost made me tear up. Johnny. Woo.
I'm just saying that. Thanks.
Man. So
you three are awesome. I mean, I learned so much just hanging out with you all. And I mean, your hunger for growth and continuing learning, it's inspiring. So thank you for joining us and inspiring the Rise Up community too.
And even when you guys sent me your photos and we put together that IG announcement, I just really got a shot in the arm of like inclusivity, diversity in this industry. And I was like, yes, the future is bright. So if we can continue to sort of like encourage our community to show them that it's possible, that's the whole mission. So thank you guys for coming on. We really appreciate it. You guys are wonderful. Really wonderful. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
It was awesome. Thank you.
Thanks
and thank
for
you everyone
us.
for listening and tuning in.
Taking
Appreciate
the
you guys.
time. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good luck, everybody.
Yeah, thank you everybody for staying up in the wee hours of the nights and waking up early.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. And big ups to Jamaica if you're still on.
India.
Alaia, Jasmine, Johnny, thank you so much. I hope we get to meet in person sometime, and you know, we'll see. But you know, next time we can all meet, like after all this is done. But thank you guys so much. I really want to show my gratitude to you guys in person. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. We did it, guys. We did it.
That was fun.
Take care. Oh man, that was amazing. Wow.
Thanks, Sean.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Thank you for coming. We'll see you in reviews and stuff soon. So thank you, guys. Saying their byes. Bye, guys.
We have to wait till everyone leaves.
Bye,
We're gonna
guys.
wait.
Thank you.
Just
Yeah.
great to see it.
Appreciate
it's
it.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, guys. I'll end it soon. Bye, guys.
Fabian,
Oh, no, I do have the power. Yeah. Should
I gave up the power.
Or should I wait till they all say goodbye? I think it's fine, right? That's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Bye, guys.
I like a good long awkward ending.
Looks like how did my
Bye.
life scheme turn out to be like a vampire? Like how did?
Yeah, what's up with that? I mean, like I'm like.
They mentioned it in the
dark.
chat. They were like, "What's happening with Bobby?"
Yeah, they're like, why is it so dark?
Dead. Just like why?
You forgot to turn the lights on.
It's like 8:30. Yeah. I don't have any lights in my apartment. It looks like my power cut off.
Yeah.
It looks like I'm just kind of like
you're like engulfed in this darkness.
Yeah, I'm haloed, but I'm like lit by like a vampire. So when I'm like, Johnny, what do you think about this?
Like, whoa.
Bite your neck.
I'm just waiting for like a hand to show up over your shoulder.
No, and that's it. So good.
This is just
so good.
Crazy cinematography stuff, and all you
just
guys
like
are
some long fingers go over his shoulder.
Exactly. I look like I'm in a cave, and you guys are in kind of middle America. But okay, awesome. Well, anything you guys want to say? Give a shout out to Chicago.
Oh, everyone in Chicago, man. They support deep.
San Diego.
Alaia,
yeah, there's 110.
Oh, Minnesota.
Minnesota in the building.
Minnesota
in the building. No one's ever said that.
Minnesota. I like that Alaia worked, like all the Minnesotans find each other. Like you and Tony just talk.
Yeah, we find each other, we talk. It's great.
Yeah. So that means
It's
you're
like
the
we all.
nicest person in the world.
What was that?
That means that you're the nicest person in the world, not only because you are Alaia, but because you're from Minnesota as well. The nicest people.
Yeah, us Minnesotans, we definitely have that nice trait. Tony's also nice too. He cracks jokes though. Like he pranks. I don't do that. I'm nicer. But seriously, that was great.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, Maryland.
Ottawa, Seattle.
Kenya.
Kenya.
Yeah, shout
Kenya.
out.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
Look at that.
Kenya, man.
That's so
What
cool.
Is it in Kenya, right?
Seriously.
Yeah, like what time is
Oh,
it?
what
my
time?
God. Egypt.
What?
Wow.
Egypt,
That's great.
Seattle,
Like you
London,
guys,
South Korea.
Mississippi, Fairfield, Panda.
I love how fast
I do like pandas.
Minnesota when there's like Kenya and Egypt.
Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe.
I saw Brazil. Singapore.
That's tomorrow over there, man.
Oh,
Zimbabwe.
Wow. They're like in the future right now.
Here's Singapore.
Zimbabwe. I wish.
Wow.
We have to find a way to just at the end of these things just turn on everything's everybody. Everybody's everything, like video and audio, so we could just hang out with Zimbabwe and Idaho.
That'd be really fun.
Yeah.
That would be.
There's got to be a way. We haven't figured it out yet. There's got to be a way.
There's no magic button. Does anyone know a way in the chat room?
We're gonna ask Ross, right?
I asked him.
Yeah,
when Ross does it at the studio, he does it one by one.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Or
yeah,
Ross.
he does.
He does.
That
Ross
is
is-
dedication.
Yeah. Yeah, he goes and right clicks every single person that wants to come in and turns their video on.
I mean, can you imagine tuning in Zimbabwe?
Cool.
Let me see what time it is in Zimbabwe right now, because I didn't hear their answer.
Whatever time it is, I'm sure it's not as dark as your room right now.
It's way darker, Bobby. What's happening?
It's getting darker.
No, it's getting darker and darker. What's going on?
Glendale might be like a lot. It's ahead of everybody, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Zimbabwe is 9 hours ahead of us, so they would be what? What's the math on that?
What?
They're 5:30 in the morning in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Waking up early. Oh yeah, 5:30 in Cairo.
5:30 in Cairo.
That's so
Nice.
rad.
12:30 a.m. in Brazil. Nate. Oh my goodness.
And can you imagine tuning into a Zoom thing
Hello.
at like 5:30 in the morning with people?
Oh, 4:30 in the UK.
Yeah.
4:30 in the UK.
That's dedication.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's where it starts, that dedication right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you go back to bed after? Like, are you going?
I mean, when is the last time you guys tuned in for anything beyond like 1:30? Oh, 9 a.m. Like,
Mhm.
I'm sorry. Nope.
12:30.
I mean,
Brazil. Yeah,
classes. Good point. Very good point.
that's so cool though.
Waking up at 4 is like only when you have to go to the airport for a morning flight,
Pretty much. Yeah.
or if you're dedicated like these people are and hang with us.
I want to hear more from
3 a.m. to watch
3
the
a.m. to watch
Jetsons.
the
I get it.
Jetsons.
I get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jetsons.
Oh yeah, I want to hear more from Zimbabwe and what their animation industry is like, or art industry is like. That'd be cool,
Yeah.
you know. It would be cool to hear about.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to be the first to break up the party, but I am actually going to leave.
Yeah, we should
But
probably.
That's a good
thank you
idea.
guys.
I don't know, Trent, you said that 20 minutes ago.
I know, right? You
Trent's gonna break the
did.
party, and thank you guys for coming, attendees, participants. Alaia, Jasmine, Jonny, we couldn't thank you more. This was awesome. So we really appreciate your time and efforts. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your stories. They're amazing.
That was amazing, dude. Amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you so
Of
much.
course.
It was great. Thank
course.
you.
Let's do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In,
For sure.
in person. But thank you guys.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Have a good night,
Good
everybody.
night, everybody.